Today's lesson is Fabulous Flower Festivals, Floriade, and the Infiorata di Noto. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And I'm Mike.
Gee, I hope I didn't butcher the Italian there. I have studied Spanish before, but not Italian. They are different languages, and they are not mutually distinguishable, although I guess you could understand some things if an Italian talks to a Spaniard or whatever. But this is occurring in Italy, and it has to do with flowers. Again, it's called Infiorata di Noto.
I think that was molto bene, the way you pronounced that.
Grazie.
There you go. So yeah, we're talking about the second of our flower festivals. Of course, yesterday we learned about the Floriade in Canberra, Australia. Now we're going to be going over to Italy. So let's find out all about this different festival that happens in the third Sunday of May. So let's check it out.
On the third Sunday of May, the historic streets of Noto, Italy, are brought to life by the Infiorata di Noto. The event, which is one of the world's most unique flower festivals, began in its current form in 1980 as a way to welcome spring. However, its roots belong in a Christian tradition dating back to the 1600s.
大家好，第一部分介绍片语 bring something to life， 它的意思是使点点点变得生动有趣，或是使点点点栩栩如生。例如 The actors really brought the story to life. 演员们确实把这个故事演绎得栩栩如生。或者 The painter was able to bring the ocean scene to life on his canvas. 这位画家可以在画布上绘出栩栩如生的海景。
It says, on the third Sunday of May, the historic streets of Noto, Italy, are brought to life by the Infiorata di Noto. Well, okay, now we know what the di Noto is. It's a place in Italy. This seems to be a good reason to visit and maybe a good reason to have a big flower festival to get people to come and see the historic streets, giving us the idea this is an old town, an old city in Italy. And the streets at this time, the third Sunday of May, so just at the beginning of the summer season or at the end of the spring season, they are brought to life by this festival. When something is brought to life, that just means a lot of activity, a lot of animation, a lot of exciting, fun things happen at that time in that place. In the same way, the streets of Taipei are brought to life during the Lantern Festival. And you can go to the parks, you can go downtown, you can go to Ximending, wherever, and you'll see a lot of decorations and maybe a lot of special activities that are arranged for that time of year to bring people out. As the people come to the streets and the activities are there, everything is brought to life. A new energy is kind of injected by this special time. It says the event, which is one of the world's most unique flower festivals, cool, began in its current form in 1980 as a way to welcome spring. So there you go. So it was started in 1980, and apparently it's one of the most unique flower festivals you can find in the world. Since, flower festivals are fairly common, fairly popular, fairly easy to put on, I guess. You just need a lot of flowers and people who like flowers. So this started in 1980, and it's a way to welcome spring. We're going to be finding out a little bit about how it's so unique. However, though, even though it started in 1980, the version we know, its roots belong in a Christian tradition dating back to the 1600s. Of course, Italy being a country with a long history of Christianity, going right back to the Roman times, that kind of makes sense. So they had some other festival in the 1600s, which has sort of morphed and changed and evolved over the years into the Infiorata di Noto, which we know and enjoy now. So let's find out more about it and why it's so unique in the next part of the article.
In Italian, Infiorata means decorated with flowers. It's a perfect description for what happens to the town during this photogenic celebration. The main attraction is a 700 square meter floral mosaic designed by local artists. On the Friday before the festival, the artists sketch plans on the streets. Then they work day and night to complete their designs using millions of flower petals. Organizers announce new themes each year to keep things fresh, but artists often draw on religion and fairy tales for inspiration. The finished artworks are temporary masterpieces that last a mere 48 hours.
第二部分看到这个名词 celebration 表示庆祝活动，例如 Eating cake is a major part of many celebrations. 吃蛋糕是许多庆祝活动的重头戏，或是 The town held a big celebration for its 100th anniversary. 这个小镇举行了100周年的庆祝活动。下一个看到动词 sketch， 指为点点点画草图或是画素描。例如 Jody enjoys sketching nature scenes. Jody 很喜欢画自然风景素描。也可以说 James hired an artist to sketch a portrait of him and his wife. James 雇了一位艺术家为他和太太画肖像素描。接着介绍名词 theme， 表示主题或是中心思想。我们可以说 I need a theme for my history report. 我需要一个历史报告的主题。又或者说 The theme song of this movie has won several awards. 这部电影的主题曲赢得了许多奖项。继续看到名词 masterpiece， 意思是杰作或是名作。例如 The painter's greatest masterpiece is displayed in the city's most famous museum. 该画家的杰作展示在该市最著名的博物馆中。再看一个例子 The beautiful cake the bakery made for the wedding was truly a masterpiece. 烘焙方为婚礼制作的这个美丽蛋糕确实是个杰作。
Okay, again, today we're talking about the Infiorata di Noto, which of course is a flower festival in Noto, Italy. And in Italian, Infiorata means decorated with flowers. It is decked with flowers, you could say, as we talked about last time. There just are a lot of flowers around something.
Around something, attached to something, and used to decorate and enhance the beauty of something. So I think it's very similar to Floriade, right? That was the Australian festival. Same kind of meaning from Latin, covered in flowers, decorated or bedecked with flowers. And it's a perfect description for what happens to the town during this photogenic celebration. So decorating or covering things with flowers, yeah, that's exactly what we do at the Infiorata di Noto. We cover things with flowers. So it's a perfect description. It tells you exactly what happens to the town during this celebration. Of course, it's a festival. It's a celebration. Any kind of party, event, fun time that has been organized to give fun things for people to have fun doing. That's a celebration. Your birthday celebration can be a big party, or it could be just a quiet dinner with your best friends, but it's the way to celebrate or to enjoy and have a special, pleasurable time at a certain special time of year. In this case, though, it's a photogenic celebration, meaning it's pretty and it's nice and it's a good thing to take photos of. It's a good thing to do paintings of, if that's more your speed. But yeah, something is photogenic. That just means kind of it's physically attractive. It is nice to look at. If you're the kind of person who just looks good on camera or in pictures, you could be described as very photogenic, right? You just have a really nice face with good angles and good bone structure. And we can also talk about beautiful landscapes, beautiful landmarks, beautiful scenes in nature as being photogenic. It's the kind of thing that wants to make you reach for a camera to take a picture because, gosh, isn't it nice to look at?
Indeed, and again, if you're photogenic, of course, you might be considered kind of rare, that you're better looking than other people, so you look good in photographs. But I would say that pretty much everybody in Taiwan is photogenic because, gee whiz, everybody has thousands of pictures of themselves in their phones. So, of course, people like to have their photographs taken because they are photogenic. And yes, it is a photogenic celebration. Of course, you can take lots of pictures there if you like taking pictures of flowers. Lots of people do like to take pictures of flowers, and nowadays we have our phones and we can take as many pictures as we want. Now, here in the next sentence it says, the main attraction is a 700 square meter floral mosaic designed by local artists. Now, that's something I'd like to see here. This is the main attraction, the thing that everybody wants to see. You'll probably have to fight for a position to get a good picture of it. But yes, this is quite large. It is 700 square meters in size. It's a floral mosaic. A mosaic is a kind of work of art, kind of like a painting that uses small bits of color put together, and then from a distance, it looks like a picture. This can be done with different kinds of materials. Most mosaics from history were made from like colored tiles or something that put them all together on the ground or on a wall, and then from a distance, you could see it, and your eyes would mix all the colors together, and you would see a picture that way. In this particular case, they're using flowers to do this. I think more specifically, they're using flower petals.
Wow, absolutely amazing. So you could have a 700 square meter picture of like the Mona Lisa, but instead of using paint or ink or anything, they're using flowers to create this image with tiny little different flowers of different colors used to show all the different shades and colors and patterns of the design. And yes, as you said, if you stand far away or maybe high above it, a few floors above it, and look over a balcony, this will look like a giant picture made out of flowers. Absolutely incredible. On the Friday before the festival, the artists sketch plans on the streets. Then they work day and night to complete their designs using millions of flower petals. This is quite a community project, it sounds like here, with many people involved in many different ways. Of course, you need artists there, and when artists do a basic drawing, that's kind of like a guide drawing or a plan drawing of what they will do in a larger, more permanent form, that's a sketch. Any good artist, well, not any, I would say most good artists can probably pick up a pencil and have a piece of paper and give you a very quick basic drawing of something in just a few minutes with just a few dashes of the pen, a few lines carefully and accurately placed, and then they'll work from that as the basic plan. We also use this not just in the drawing form, but to give you a basic idea of a project or something that's more complicated. If you have an idea for a business and then you explain it to me in 30 seconds or less, that's a sketch of your idea. You're not really getting a spreadsheet out and explaining all the details. You're giving just the basic idea. So they sketch plans on the streets, maybe using chalk or tape or something like that. They do a basic guide drawing, the skeleton of the drawing on the street. A plan, in another way, is kind of like a sketch. It's basically the rules, the limits, the lines, where the picture will be, how large it will be, where the main images are. So that's basically the guide for everyone else who will be filling it in. And then they have to work very quickly. They work day and night. They work all day and all night. I imagine this is to keep the flowers fresh, because if the flowers start turning brown, that's going to change the picture, of course. So they want the blue petals, the blue flowers to be really blue and yellow and red and orange and all that to make the colors in the finished work look really, really great. So they have to work very quickly, and they work day and night to complete their designs using millions of flower petals. Imagine a 700 square meter picture. Yeah, you're going to need a lot of flowers just to fill that space, never mind to create that beautiful picture that you're trying to end up with.
Yep, they sketch plans on the streets. We could also call that a rough sketch. As you said, maybe they use chalk or something like that. It might be based on a digital picture or something like that, where they blow it up and look at the pixels and determine the colors and stuff like that. And they do have to work fast because, as you said, those flower petals will start to wither over time and they will change colors. And organizers announce new themes each year to keep things fresh, but artists often draw on religion and fairy tales for inspiration. So, of course, this festival needs organizers. They need to have people who are making sure everything goes smoothly, and they plan all the activities, and they try to figure out when things happen and where people can go and maybe where they can stay and things like that. So, again, these are organizers. These are people who organize the event, and they announce these new themes each year. A theme is like an idea. This year, the theme is going to be the crucifixion of Christ or something, or Buddha's enlightenment. They'll think of some sort of theme, and then the participants need to work from that, but I think they're also free to come up with their own ideas. They can draw on religion or fairy tales for inspiration. If you draw on something, you just use that as your inspiration. You use that to get your information. They draw on religion. They use religion as an idea, and they also use fairy tales like Robin Hood or Little Red Riding Hood or the Big Bad Wolf or whatever. They use these fairy tales For inspiration, that just means coming up with ideas.
There you go. They get their ideas from, a lot of things that many forms of art get inspiration from. Religion, fairy tales, Greek myth. I mean, you can go to any art gallery in Europe and you'll find many paintings inspired by great myths or Bible stories, things like that. The finished artworks are temporary masterpieces that last a mere 48 hours. All of that work for a painting that will look its best for only about 2 days before, of course, nature takes its course and the flowers start to wither and turn brown and petals and colors start to fade or drop off the flowers themselves. Basically, this artwork is very temporary, meaning it doesn't last a long time. It has a limited lifespan. An artwork is a piece of art. Basically, it could be a painting, it could be a sculpture. You could even extend that to talking about a great symphony or a great movie or a great book. But often when we say artworks, we're thinking of visual arts, the things you see in a gallery in an art museum, things like paintings and sculptures. So this finished artwork or these artworks, maybe they do several smaller ones in that large area, they are temporary masterpieces. A masterpiece is kind of the great work of an artist, but we can use this to talk about just a great or impressive work of art. When we think of a masterpiece, we would probably think of the most famous paintings and sculptures of the world, right? The Mona Lisa, the Venus de Milo, things like that, the kind of things that draw millions of tourists to big art museums. But it could also just be a really great piece of art that someone's done, or it could just be something you are particularly proud of. So you make a giant wedding cake for your best friend's wedding and you've never done it before and you're like, wow, that's really good. I did a great job. That is a masterpiece. It's just a very high quality, or it's an artwork at a very high standard, or even just a work at a high standard. So you can use it in a very real way to talk about the most famous works of art, but you can also use it in a more casual way to talk about just an impressive work of art or an impressive accomplishment of some kind. And these masterpiece, as it says, it's temporary. It lasts a mere meaning kind of here only. It lasts a very small amount of time, only 48 hours, a mere 48 hours. So if it's unveiled on Monday and you show up on Wednesday or Thursday, too late.
Too late indeed, so don't miss out on these big masterpieces. Let's move on now to the final part of our lesson. We'll listen and we'll wrap things up.
Visitors who buy tickets can admire the art up close or get a bird's-eye view by climbing one of the town's bell towers. Meanwhile, the festival's lively outer areas are filled with food vendors, street performances, and other exciting entertainment options.
第三部分看到名词 vendor， 它表示摊贩或是小贩，可以说 This street vendor sells fresh fruit every morning. 这个街头摊贩每天早上都会卖新鲜水果。也可以说 That vendor sells good food. 那个小贩卖的食物很好吃。最后看到这个单字 entertainment， 它是名词，指的是娱乐表演或是节目。举例来说 Going to the movies is a popular form of entertainment. 看电影是一项受欢迎的娱乐方式。或者 Video games offer hours of entertainment for both kids and adults. 电玩游戏为孩子和大人们提供数小时的娱乐。
Okay, so here it says visitors who buy tickets can admire the art up close or get a bird's eye view by climbing one of the town's bell towers.
Cool.
So you can get up close there and take a picture of the flowers, but if you want to see the whole mosaic or the whole picture, you need to get a bird's eye view, just a view from above like a bird would have, and you will climb one of the town's bell towers, a tower with a bell, and you can look down and see the mosaic.
Very cool to get the full effect of this beautiful floral masterpiece. Meanwhile, it says, at the same time, while people are admiring this amazing piece of art created with flowers, at the same time, the festival's lively outer areas are filled with food vendors, street performances, and other exciting entertainment options. Very much like the Floriade in Australia, they have other things to keep people there and to attract people for whom maybe flowers aren't the most exciting thing, but food. They have great food vendors, food stalls, people setting up kind of temporary little food establishments, little restaurants, little places you can buy food that's either prepared there or brought on site. night, and you can walk around and enjoy some pasta or some pizza and some gelato or things like that. So they have food stalls, they have food vendors, people selling food in this temporary capacity for the visitors and the tourists, and they have street performances, juggling, music, all sorts of fun stuff to see, because kids might get bored looking at flowers after about half an hour, and other exciting entertainment options. So other things to keep you entertained, to give you fun, to give you pleasure, to keep you there and keep you enjoying your time at the Infiorata di Noto. Sounds very interesting. I am going to be looking up at some pictures of these masterpieces, these floral masterpieces on the internet very soon.
Me too, but in the meantime, we need to listen to our beloved Chinese teacher, Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny， 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分介绍了意大利的诺托花毯节，并提到它的根源可追溯至17世纪的基督教传统。文中是用 a Christian tradition dating back to the 1600s 来表达可追溯至17世纪的基督教传统。那么 Christian 就表示基督教的， dating back to 加名词则是分词片语，用来修饰前方的Christian tradition。 好，这边我们就来整理一下 date back 的用法。首先可以用 date back to 加上过去某个时期、年代或事件，像 date back to the 14th century 追溯到14世纪， date back to the French Revolution 追溯到法国大革命。第二个用法可以用 date back 加一段时间，像 date back 200 years 表示追溯到200年前，始于200年前。顺便补充一下，动词 trace 也可以表达追溯的意思，可以当及物或不及物用。做及物用的话， trace something back to 表示某事物可回溯到、可追溯至什么什么，后面可以接时间、来源或原因等等。那这也常常会用被动语态表示 something be traced back to 就是某事物可追溯至什么什么。举例来说， The tradition can be traced back to the Middle Ages 这个传统可追溯至中世纪。至于 trace 当不及物用的话， trace back to 意思就跟 date back to 一样，表示始于追溯至刚刚的例句也可以改写成 The tradition traces back to the Middle Ages。 好，看到课文第二部分提到诺托花毯节的主办单位每年都会公布新的主题，以保持新鲜感。文中用到 keep things fresh 来表达保持新鲜感。那么在前一天课文第三部分也有用到Keep the roughly 400,000 visitors busy 字面意思是让大约40万名参观者保持忙碌，就可以表达出让他们目不暇接的那种语义。好，那这两个用法所用到的结构是 keep 加受词加受词补语，表示使什么什么保持怎么样。keep 在这边表示使保持某状态，受词补语可以用到形容词、现在分词 VING、过去分词 PP 或者是介系词片语。我们看几个例句。第一个例句 Doing crossword puzzles can help keep your mind sharp 玩填字游戏可以帮助你让头脑保持灵光，那这边受词补语是用形容词 sharp。 第二个例句 Please keep the door locked 请让那扇门保持上锁的状态，那这边受词补语是用过去分词 locked。第三个例句 Keep your eyes on the road while driving 开车时要留意路况，那这边受词补语则是用介系词片语 on the road。 好，那么以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Celebration. We're going to have a surprise celebration for Sabrina's engagement tomorrow night. Sketch. Greg sketched a simple map for Arthur to show him the way to the store. Theme. Love, honor, and sacrifice are themes found in a number of classic novels. Inspiration. The author hopes her story provides inspiration for young people to chase their dreams. Masterpiece. Every detail of this amazing film shows that it is truly a masterpiece. Vendor. There were numerous vendors selling snacks and cold drinks outside the stadium. Entertainment. The cruise ship has water slides, shows, and various other forms of entertainment.
Discussion Starter starts now!
It's time now for our discussion starter, a question in which you can begin a discussion. Which flower festival would you prefer to visit, Floriade or the Infiorata di Noto, and why?
I'll be honest, and I'm not sure I'm getting into the spirit of the flower festival. I think I'd rather visit the Infiorata di Noto because I really like Italian food and I would be interested to see what the food vendors are selling. That's my main reason. I'm sorry.
Well, there are tons of Italians in the United States. I am sick to death of them and their food. So I want to go down under. I hear that the Australians there are pretty laid back. They're fun to hang out with. So I would prefer to see Floriade. Considering that it's probably closer to go there from Taiwan than it is to Italy, maybe the flight fare would be cheaper. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Mike.
See you next time.